Hello, my name is Josh Adamo. I'm the Chef de Cuisine at Emeril's restaurant in New Orleans, here in New Orleans, Louisiana. I'm a Canadian-born chef. I've worked for different restaurants around the world. I've worked in London for Clare Smyth, and I trained a bit in France as well. And now I'm here working in America. I'm here to answer you 4 questions actually, and hopefully it might help some young cook out there that needs to hear this. All right, so here we go.
What is the most important lesson you have learned in your career that has shaped your approach to cooking?
So for me, sort of one of the most important lessons that I've learned in my career thus far is something that I've sort of came into realizing recently, as I'm a little bit more mature now in my cooking style, is something that I like to say is that you're not better than creme anglaise. And what that means basically is, you know, you're not going to be better than classic, well-executed cooking techniques. You know, I feel like a lot of times people want to try and use technique, or they want to try to get fancy. They want to try to use a bunch of different cooking methods and dehydrate this and fry that and make things so complicated that it actually takes away from what is delicious or what people want to eat, right? And so I find this a lot of times with pastry chefs, especially. They're trying to be better than the ingredients that they're using, and try to use all these different savory things in a dessert, when at the end of the day, most people just want to eat a good creme brulee, right? And with some compote of berries and some shortbread and delicious. And that's what you want to eat, right? At the end of the day, that's simple is always better, right? So I would, where my cooking approach is now is never try to be better than the ingredient that you're using. Have the maturity and restraint to cook properly. It's hard enough to make creme anglaise perfectly and cook it to the right temperature and use good cream and find great vanilla. And it's hard enough to do that. Make the difficulty in the technique first, and not trying to overcomplicate your dish. And you know, as a young chef, it's especially very tempting, and I was guilty for this as well. We all are kind of like a puppy running around trying different things, seeing what works, what doesn't, trying to spherify things, trying to make powders and tuiles and potions and lotions and all these things that actually just take away from what's delicious. It's very natural for, I think, young chefs to want to try to do all these things and use all these techniques, but it's very much like a puppy running around, you know. What I would urge people to do is try and cook classic dishes, right? Make a carbonara like how it should be made, with the ingredients that were meant to be in it, and don't try to put your own twist on it, right? Learn how to make dishes the way that they've been made for hundreds of years, because you're not better than that, all right? You're not going to be, no matter what you do, this thing's been made for hundreds of years for a reason. You're not better than creme anglaise. Just calm down and make it delicious, right? And make the difficulty in finding beautiful ingredients, and make the difficulty in nailing the technique exactly how it should be done. And at the end of the day, that's gonna resonate with more people, because more people are gonna find it delicious. And you'll be able to take your hero cape off, right? And just keep your apron on. Put your apron on the front, not the back. You're not a hero, you're a chef. That's an important lesson that I've learned. You're not better than creme anglaise.
What has been the highlight of your career?
Recently, I would say about half a year ago, my grandparents and my mom and my stepdad and my sister came in and ate at Emeril's, which is my first experience as Chef de Cuisine, where I get to do the menu and I feel like it's my food. And I got to cook for my family for the first time in a professional setting, where I felt I was actually behind the dishes that they were eating. And it was a very special moment. My family lives in Canada, and so they had to fly my grandparents down here, and it was a big trip. And I got to do a take on a dish that my grandfather used to make us when we were kids, called fried potatoes and eggs. And I did it in a little bit of a refined way, spiral potato, fried egg, and olive oil, and And I got to watch them sort of hit that in the dining room and eat it. And they were all just blown away, and it was a pretty warm moment, and it was exciting to sort of see how it all came around. You know, when I first started cooking was with my grandparents when I was a kid, and to see it sort of come full circle and have the people that raised me in the dining room eating the food after all the training I've done, and it was pretty cool. It's a pretty special moment. So I would say that that's been the highlight of my career so far.
If you could collaborate with any chef in history, who would it be and why? What dish would you create together?
I think that for me, it would have to be Thomas Keller. Thomas Keller's been a massive influence and industry role model for me ever since I started cooking. I could say probably most people in North America feel the same way, for many, many reasons. He's someone who I very much look up to in the industry, and to just pick his brain and to work on something together, and with his level of maturity and respect for the industry, and his respect for ingredients and how he carries himself with class, and you know how his restaurants are world class, and I think he would just be a very special person to work through a dish with, to collab with, and he would just be a great role model to spend the night with, to pick his brain and seek advice and mentorship in person from someone like that would be so, you know, valuable. And I would love nothing more than to do that. If I ever have the opportunity to, I'm gonna jump at it right away. So Thomas Keller for sure.
What advice would you give to someone just starting in the culinary world?
I would say that, you know, the best advice that I could give would be to focus on your mentality. All right, your attitude and your mentality in this industry is the most important thing that you can possibly work on. All right, the only thing you can control is how you think, your paradigm. A positive mental attitude goes a long way in an industry that oftentimes a lot of things aren't fair, right? A lot of times you're not ready for service on time, your sous chef's an asshole, the ingredient doesn't show up at the back door, you're treated unfairly. I mean, there's multiple areas in this world that aren't fair and aren't right? If you want to climb to the top, and if you want to really become great at what you do, you know, you have to put all that stuff aside, and you have to really focus on becoming better, accepting that you don't know as much as you think you know, accepting that there's always another way that you can learn if you keep an open mind, right? You know, you have to go through all of the motions of this industry, right? You have to work all the sections, you have to fail at all the things, you have to do them, and you have to do it with an open mind, because that's how you're going to learn. It's a trade at the end of the day. People seem to forget this. These chefs get a lot of notoriety and fame and a lot of attention nowadays with Instagram and social media. At the end of the day, this is a trade. Right? It's what you can produce with your hands that matters the most, okay? And you need to learn how to get really good at that. At the end of the day, that's what it's about. And the only way to do that is with time, right? You need to find a great restaurant wherever you live. And if there's no great restaurants wherever you live, go move somewhere where there is one, and work for a busy restaurant. That's very important. That's very good, and the quality of what they're doing is good. Maybe they have a couple accolades, maybe they have good reputation. Get in there, keep your head down, say yes chef. If they say jump, you say how high. If they say run, you say how far, and just accept that you're the one in the room that doesn't know anything, that needs the information from the people around you, and take all the information from everyone around you. As soon as you think you know better, that's when your growing stops. All right, and so what I tell cooks all the time that come in through the door, they want a job and they want like, you know, interview questions and stuff like that. I say, to be honest, I don't really care where you've worked. You know, it doesn't matter to me, because I've you know, done this now, and I've worked a lot of places where you have people that come from the best culinary school money can buy, and you have people that come from a background where they never went to culinary school, right? two people start at the same date. One has an expensive culinary school education, one doesn't. At the end of the day, I look at them both the same, right? It's like who wants it more, who wants to learn more, who has the right attitude to learn, to grow. Those are the people that are going to move forward more than people with a fancy education or fancy experience working at a 3-star restaurant for 6 months picking herbs, and they come and they've never learned how to cook an omelet, you know? And it's like, learn the trade, learn the craft, work at busy restaurants, work somewhere where you're going to cook, right? And at first, right? And then if you're going to work somewhere, and also don't be the person that does 6 months here, 6 months there, 8 months there, a year there, just to get all these restaurants on your CV, so that you can be the one that's bragging that they've worked at all, seen inside of all these 3-star restaurants, 2-star restaurants. It's like, great, but what do you have from it? Because the longer you're in a place, the more that place is going to invest in you, right? The longer you give to a restaurant, the more they're going to give back to you. So what that like, you know, it's like anything. You just jump around all the time. You have no commitment or loyalty to anybody. They're not going to have that same loyalty back at you. And you're not going to learn anything about ordering. You're not going to learn anything about, you know, proteins, or, you know, normally cooking meat, cooking fish, the most senior sections in the kitchen given to the people that stay there the longest. You want to work on garde manger sections all around and cold sections all the way around all these restaurants, great, but that's you learn 5 different ways how to make a puree, great, or a tuile, fantastic, but what do you know about managing a team? You know, what do you know about being a part of a team, right? And these are all lessons that you need to learn. Lessons that you learn by going through it, by doing it and sticking it out when it gets hard. Don't quit somewhere because it's difficult, you know. Quit somewhere because it doesn't serve you anymore, right? Like you've taken all the information you can from that place, you know, then you have a reason to leave. Don't leave because it's hard, right? Overcome the difficulty with you know, rigor and passion, right? And that will get you where you need to go. But you should always try to find the best restaurants, and you know, say if you don't know where you want to, or you might want to work in fine dining, you might not want to work in fine dining. I think everyone should work in fine dining. Every chef would work at a good fine dining restaurant for at least a year, right? I'll say that. I'd say longer, but I think you want to see the level of respect that these restaurants have, and you want to see the level of dedication and commitment that these chefs have that are in there to give you some perspective of what excellent cooking is, and also to give you the perspective to be able to do casual food with the same ethos of a fine dining restaurant. You're going to be miles ahead of most other places. So I would say it's a very healthy decision to go down that route, and, you know, keep your head down, you know, work your ass off. Don't ask how much you're going to get paid in your 20s. For the love of God, just fucking start. You know, worry about money later. Money's going to come later. Don't think about money in your 20s. I'm telling you, fine dining restaurants, people think because they're expensive, you're going to get paid the most. Wrong. You're not going to get paid the most there, because the margins are so fucking low, and it's hard to make money in fine dining restaurants. But what you get there is experience, right? You get know-how, right? You get you work your ass off. The mise en place lists become longer. The responsibilities become bigger. The what's the word I'm looking for? The stakes are higher, right? Things that are okay and that slide in other places aren't there. You should learn that. You should learn that level of discipline, right? And that'll carry you through. Okay, so that would be my advice for someone new in the culinary world. Those are my 4 answers to your 4 questions, and I hope that they help. Thank you. Josh Adamo. Bye.